Trustees regular meeting for Monday, October 25th, 2021. Have a fairly heavy schedule this evening, agenda. We're going to start out by, if you'll join me, we'll rise and pledge allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First item on our agenda is agenda review. Do we want to change anything or revise anything?
I just have personnel.
Executive session?
Executive session.
Executive session for personnel. Okay. Public comment. I'd like to make a few announcements before we start with Sean. I was over at the town office today talking with a zoning administrator, and this ties in with regional planning too. The zoning administrator, Amy Juro, said that the planning commission is working on revisions to the municipal plan for the community of Swanton, and it's due in 2023, but she reminded us if we have any concerns to let the planning commission know, but it's an ongoing process. And secondly, I received and James Gilmet received for the town a letter from Swanton Enhancement Project from the steering committee, addressed by Debbie Winters, saying that they were concerned that the village and the town get together on priorities for spending the ARPA
funds, yeah.
Yeah, funds. And they wanted to get in on a discussion, I think, which that's going to be ongoing. We have talked with the town, and we have a list, and when they get their list ready, we're going to have a meeting with SEP and the public to say our priorities. And we are trying right now, both the village and the town are trying to figure out what we can spend this money on. Both Reg and David Jesavage had a meeting with VLC to try to define what we could spend the money on. And so we're working on lists, and we will keep you posted, but we are in communication with them. So I don't know if there's anything you'd like to add. Molly?
I'll just add a little bit and then give Molly, but so the league did express in regional planning the opportunity to let the public have their input in order for if there were extra funds left over for the possibility of being able to pool extra money to focus on what the community is looking for, which may be outside of the scope of the ARPA funds now. Yeah. But that's what I heard, and we understand the importance to get as much input as possible as well. So, Molly, I'm sorry.
Great. Thank you very much for all you're doing and the conversations you're having. Just would like to add that the point of communication is two purposes, really. One, to get community input, of course, but two is to really get buy-in and support for the thoughtful process in which you've engaged to develop whatever list you're going to present. Mm-hmm. And I think it's always much. It just shows collaboration and a great information exchange between the elected officials and the community members. And I think all of us who listen to the news are very aware that many communities are engaged in the process of inviting their communities in and having great conversations, whether it affects directly these funds and how they're used. It certainly affects the spirit of the community and the engagement that you have with the community. So it's a mutually beneficial situation, I think, and very important to bring the community into this, because this is a one-time chance. And so in relation to that, and I'd like to add another little thing, speaking about community engagement, and Neil just spoke about the rewrite of the municipal plan. And Reg and Neil know that for months we've been speaking with the folks from the Swanton Enhancement Project, and don't be offended when I say this, but planning and zoning is where all the action is, because that's where the vision is laid out for the future of the community. And what's so hard about it is it's not emergent. It's not right in your face. You really have to think ahead. And I'm so excited that the Planning Commission, that Amy is alerting you, we are alerting the SEP membership, and we hope to alert the community at large that this is a very worthwhile process to spend some time at public meetings and talk about where and what you want your community to go and what you want your community to be. And on that point, there is another one-time opportunity that is being provided by the state of Vermont, and it's a zoning bylaw planning grant. One time only. They've got a $500,000 amount that they are distributing to communities who apply for this grant throughout the state. And what the grant provides is a review of your zoning bylaws to see if they're in alignment with the accessibility and affordability and supply of housing in your community. And then they make recommendations, perhaps, to alter your bylaws. Sometimes you look at bylaws, people don't pay attention to them generally, unless you're a developer, and you're trying to do something. So anyway, this is a one-time opportunity from the state. We're in conversation right now with the Planning Commission on this opportunity. The Northwest Regional Planning Commission is putting together a consortium grant of several communities in a region, because housing, after all, is a regional issue. At any rate, I just wanted you to be aware that we're in conversation with Chair Jim Hubbard about this opportunity. Not quite sure where they're going on this yet, but it seems to be a great chance for us without, it's having somebody else do the labor of reviewing those bylaws. And the community, there's a cash match for the community that is probably gonna come in around $1,000. So if the municipality or the village isn't able to provide that, SEP is probably in a position to be, the Swanton Enhancement Project is probably in a position to provide that community match if we were lucky enough to get a grant. So
Can I ask a question?
Pardon?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Who's the they with the 500,000?
The Agency of Commerce and Community Development. Yeah.
Thanks.
And this is outside the realm of regional planning?
Regional planning is putting together a consortium grant application to ACCD to see if we can win some of these funds.
Uh-huh.
So it's in cooperation. Municipalities could provide or could apply individually, but in this circumstance, just from an outside observer, it seems to make sense that housing is a regional issue and several communities could take advantage.
Okay, Adam?
Question, so this grant would bring somebody in from outside to review
Yeah.
our zoning bylaws. I don't know that I like that.
Particularly in relation, well, they're a public document.
Yeah, but
But
they're
the-
Swanton zoning bylaws, not Montpelier's.
No, and you don't, it would be like working with your regional planning commission. They look at your community, but if you have zoning bylaws that make it very difficult for somebody to develop housing in your community, they would point that out. It would be an observer's perspective of your bylaws.
Okay. I just think that's something that can be done in-house.
Got like a consultant?
Yeah,
Sort of,
yeah.
sounds like it.
Yeah, 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 it certainly could be, but why not take advantage of somebody who's looking at the regional, but I'm not
Yeah,
gonna,
no,
I'm not
I-
gonna debate it with you.
No, I appreciate the information, I didn't, So-
And also, just to restate, we're in conversation, where there's no
Commitment.
move being made at this point. We're in conversation with Jim Hubbard.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the deal that's due in 2023, right?
No.
total revision?
No, that's the municipal plan. These are the zoning bylaws,
Oh,
which are
okay.
different,
Yeah, right.
right?
Yeah, I'm on the wrong path there.
Yeah, it's two separate
Right.
activities.
Okay, well, good.
Yeah, but it's just for your information, it's for no other, it's not asking for anything, not.
So, well,
Hey, Neil,
yes, sir.
Sean.
Sean? Yes, go ahead.
Sean from Regional Planning. Hi, not my project, and definitely not my wheelhouse. But Greta Brunswick is working on a project on this particular grant.
Right,
I was just trying to reach her.
I've got
She's
it,
working with,
go ahead.
it's in addition to the municipal planning grant. It's
Yes.
separate money. It's like an one-time add-on to a municipal planning grant.
Right,
That's all I know. And if you want more information, Greta can meet with you about
Okay.
it at some point.
Okay, thank you.
I've got a long message from Greta, from which I'm kind of drawing this information, and she's been terrific in helping us understand the process, so.
Mhm. Okay, well, thank you for that insight, I guess, at this
You're
point,
welcome.
so.
You're welcome,
And,
my pleasure. Thank you all for what you do.
And thank SAP and their steering committee for keeping us on our toes and keep at it, so.
Well, you look good on your toes.
We've got a lot going on, and sometimes we need a little reminder, which doesn't hurt at all, so.
And we need to be better about doing that, and we hope to be much more attentive to what's going on at all our various meetings, so.
Yeah, right. Okay, thank you very much, Molly.
Thank you.
So,
Oh, you just missed my big
Oh,
presentation, Gordon.
Can you start over?
Yeah, start over, so.
Really excellent.
Okay, that being said, thank you, Molly, and everybody.
Thank
I guess we'll turn it over to Sean Coleman from Northwest Regional Planning, and Sean Keel, Executive Director of Northwest Communication
District.
Union District. So they're gonna give us an update. Somebody say Neil?
Yeah, Elizabeth.
Are
Elizabeth?
you done with public comments?
Uh,
Yes, we're still on public comment. You
Okay, go
want,
ahead, sorry, checking.
would you like the public comment?
Wait my turn, I just wanted to make sure you hadn't moved on.
No.
okay.
Okay, so we're all set for Sean then?
Yep.
I think. So go ahead and take it away, Sean.
Sean Kaya is gonna go.
Okay.
Okay.
The Sean.
The Sean Show.
It would be helpful, I do have a short deck that just kind of highlights some of the key points, and I'm not sure if I have screen sharing or not. If not, I can always just talk through it. What do you guys prefer?
Hang on just a second, Sean, see if I can, I'm gonna make you host. And then you should be able to screen share. Perfect, we see it.
Perfect. Okay. Well, thanks for having us. I know it's been a little while. I believe we, maybe a year ago, roughly, when we were first kind of getting started and trying to get our feet under us a little bit, kind of what the path ahead of us. And we've come a long way, at least I like to think so. The question always, for those who aren't aware, Northwest Communication Union District, we're the governing board put together in August of 2020 to work on our broadband issues and inequity within our district. We now have 15 municipalities as part of the district, and we would love to have the village of Swanton as part of that. The question I always get is how big is the problem? Every community varies. Certainly Swanton doesn't have as big of numbers of and underserved premises that some others do. With the additions of some new communities, these numbers are slightly larger, but overall we're looking at roughly around 14,000 premises within Northwest CUD. Of that, over 2,000 are considered unserved. They have no connectivity at all with other premise, and over 6,600 all below the standard of broadband. So they are considered underserved or have limited connectivity. Even about 47% of premises within our district not having adequate connectivity. I did take a look at Swanton. We use the state's public service department's data to make some of these determinations. So they don't break out village and town in Swanton, but overall looks like to be roughly around 165 underserved. That would be, they fall below the definition of broadband. Our big objective, or one of our objectives, is to build out the open access fiber network to every home and business equally, and to serve a minimum of 100 over 100 for upload and download speeds. That's the big difference. While some communities may have providers that serve better than the minimum standard, not many addresses have better than 100 over 100. And that's the state mandate, and that is also what the standard the CUD is seeking to achieve as well. And at this time, only 4% of our entire district has that, and say that they've have service that meets that goal. Our overall vision is to break barriers to internet access in all communities. Overall mission is to leverage partnerships, procure funding to connect Northwest Vermont via open access to ensure opportunities for all homes and businesses. Our goal, I mentioned universal access, We've chosen, we feel that fiber optics is the technology platform that we want to use. It's generally future-proof, whereas some of the other technologies have some limitations. We feel that while that it's logistically challenging to deploy fiber optics, long-term, we feel it's the most equitable way to do this. Prioritizing under and unserved within our district. We want to make sure that it's reliable, affordable. We're working on accelerating the timeline. Certainly bringing on a full-time executive director will help with that. No longer will we just merely trying to volunteer a few hours a week and with a group of volunteers who have done a fantastic job up to this point, but certainly having someone working on it full-time will help. And we're seeking to have some level of implementation, putting lines on poles within 2022, ideally if all things align properly. Member communities, Swanton, as of last week, Swanton Town has joined. I need to update the map, haven't had a chance to do that yet. And Islamont was the one before that. I think Islamont was sometime in July. So we're continuing to grow, and we do have some interest from a few other communities, as well as some in Chittenden County who are kind of seeking to join onto a union district who are kind of neighboring by. I'll look back at some of the things that we've done. Again, created in August of 2020, we collaborate heavily with NRPC in a lot of projects, and still do. They provide us tremendous operational support, and I'm eternally grateful. We did a Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi hotspots project. We did 19 hotspots throughout the district. Let's see, what else? Secured funding. Most recently, we secured funding under H360 just last Monday, which was my first day. That was an interesting first day to have to go before the state board to get funding approved. Continue to engage with a number of different partners, both local, regional, as well as national providers, to kind of see what the best fit is for the district. And we're continuing to have those discussions. We did hire the executive director, myself, and we did get approved for the funding. Looking ahead, we're going to be jumping into our project plan, or our business planning phase. That should be kicking off here in the next couple of weeks. We're just going to be inviting a number of different contractors to do that work, and we should have a business plan laid out by the end of this year. Seeking operator and service provider agreements. Part of the funding we just received was to do site surveys and to begin our make-ready process and do pole surveys. That is part of the funding that we did just receive. And again, preparing us for high-level design and engineering work beginning hopefully Q1 of next year. Couple more slides here real quick. Wi-Fiber, again, we feel it's the best solution. It's the fastest, most reliable. Long-term, it's certainly the most affordable. Certainly it's expensive up front, and again, it's future-proof. They haven't quite met its theoretical limit of what it's capable of, so it can kind of grow as our broadband needs of capacity grow. A term you'll hear myself say, and pretty much anyone from Northwest CUD, is open access. We feel strongly that an open access model is the best solution rather than a one provider solution, which is commonplace throughout all of Vermont. Usually providers don't like to compete, and we feel differently. We think that an open access model certainly can drive down prices, and it forces them to compete and improve their services. The best model of what makes sense for us is an airport. We want to build the infrastructure and then lease access out to several providers to provide the services. So at the end of the day, a premise could have provider of choice. They may have 2 to 4 or more. We see these models primarily out west, but we see models where premises have as many as 5 or 6 providers of choice, with rates as low as $40 for gigabit connections because there is competition. And we feel strongly that that's an opportunity for us to bring something like that here, and we're actively working towards that. Any questions?
You said Swanton Town is signed on?
They have, yes, and Enosburg Village, there's the whole map there, but I know Enosburg Village also is a electric utility that works with Vesa and Swanton Village as well. So we're certainly trying to kind of close the gaps, I guess. There's a few communities who, I think at first the communities who were of need most signed on first, and certainly as we got a better understanding of kind of our direction, now it makes sense for us to kind of reapproach those other communities who currently are overbuilt with cable. And for us, our priority is to prioritize those under and unserved addresses. But at some point in time, it's to serve the entire district and to provide a better quality of service and to introduce competition to the district that currently doesn't exist. So that's certainly something we're looking towards. And again, all through kind of the open access fiber model.
Can I ask a question?
Sure you can.
I really like the idea of the competition of several different users being providers. Who's going to actually own the hardware? Who's going to provide it?
Say that again, sorry.
I mentioned that I like the idea of having multiple people providing services over your wires. But who owns the wires? Who's going to maintain them? Is it a separate entity, or is it collective, or what?
Our vision is CUDs will maintain ownership of the infrastructure. There's a couple of different methods. Depending on the CUD, some CUDs have taken the route of becoming, kind of an infrastructure operator. They operate and maintain the infrastructure. Some have partnered with operators to maintain and operate, and then they partner with ISPs to provide the services. Then you have kind of probably the most prominent CUD in the state is EC Fiber, who Sean, I'm blanking on the entity that's kind of created to partner with them.
Right, I am I want to say Central Bat, but it's not. It was the Central.
Yeah, they basically in tandem they operate the network. So there's different models. Our vision of it is that the Northwest CUD would maintain ownership of the entire district of the infrastructure. There's still some debate on, again, we're not quite through business planning yet, again, through the end of the year here, but we'll have a better understanding of that direction. But for us, we will either become an operator or maintainer, or partner with an organization to do that work. We'll contract with that work. NEK is kind of on that path. They've signed agreements with an operator to operate the network on their behalf. NEK will maintain ownership, and then they have a provider who will deliver services. So there's a couple different kind of formations, but ideally we certainly will maintain ownership of the infrastructure and lease out access to the network.
So your funding will come primarily only from the users? There won't be any subsidizing by the local governments?
Correct, yeah. Membership to the CUD does not cost local tax dollars at all. We're not allowed. It's a statute that we're not allowed to ask for tax dollars. It's through grant programs, VITA, as well as revenue bonds.
Okay, the grants do come from taxpayers.
State and federal, but not local. So there's no, the individual municipalities that are members would not have to, do a tax raise of any kind to contribute to the CUD.
So in the future, the question is, the charge to the home or the user is going to be to the group, right?
It would be to the provider. So the providers would pay us to lease the space or lease access, and then they would pay the provider. What that looks like yet, we're currently seeking partnerships with a number of, we're having conversations with a bunch of providers to make sure that we find one that we feel is a great fit and kind of fits the pillars that we're seeking. That it's affordable, it's going to be reliable. 5, 6 years down the road after we make this agreement, they just don't care, and, you know, we're kind of left with what we have today, which is kind of poor service and, you know, poor quality as well.
So the user is gonna be paying this provider, correct?
Well, ultimately, I mean, yes, I mean, you're gonna have to pay the, you know, it's like paying a utility bill, you're gonna have to pay for access to the network.
Okay.
Or for your service, it's just you'll have, in the case of somebody in the village of Swanton who might have that choice of Comcast or Consolidated, or, you know, whatever the options are within the open access model with the CUD.
Yeah, if I may too, Sean, I think from what I understood with this, if we get on the communications union district, and we are able to get a lot of people to sign in on this, this could be reduced rates in our internet usage. So like right now, if I pay $200 a month for Comcast, probably I'm going to pay $50 for what is developed through the CUD. Is that correct?
Yeah, certainly economies of scale play an aspect in pricing. You know, as we look for partners, you know, we have partners who are comfortable with, you know, 10,000 premises and doing a project of that scale. And then we have partners who are like, you know, it'd be great if, you know, we had 40, 50,000 premises, and that would help with economies of scale and pricing and, you know, the overall cost of the project. The biggest aspect that I've seen, for those who aren't aware, you know, I come from the telecom industry. Most recently with the town of Enosburg, but I was with the Burlington Telecom before that, and 2 other providers before then. The biggest thing that I've seen is when there's provider of choice and they have to price compete, that is really what drives down cost. I see it today, if you were to go do a comparison of Comcast bill in Swanton versus a Comcast bill, the same level of service versus a Comcast bill in Burlington, strictly because there is another serious provider in the town of Burlington, or the city of Burlington, the rates is significantly lower, just because there's provider of choice and they have to compete.
And you did say, Sean, that you are in communications with VEPSA as well?
I've reached out to Ken Nolan just to, you know, introductions. My first day was last Monday, so it's been drinking from a fire hose for the better part of a week and a half now. So, you know, certainly we're having those conversations. We've spoken with the other utilities in the area as well, Green Mountain and Beck, to understand exactly that process for Make Ready and what we need to do. Obviously, we've been told, you know, get our poll apps in as soon as possible. And we plan to do that as soon as we have some high-level design and we know our direction. We'll begin that work.
Okay. Now, is Elizabeth the town representative?
She is.
Okay. And I understood we could have the same person, village and town?
You certainly can do that. I served as village and town representative in Enosburg up until about 2 weeks ago. But certainly that's an option. We always encourage, should you adopt the resolution, to certainly have alternates. You know, the proverbial hit by a truck scenario where that person can't attend. We want to have as much representation at the table as we can. So.
Okay.
You can appoint as many alternates as you want. There's no limit on the number of alternates. And just to give you some background on the current board, like Sean said, I think there's 15 communities now that are part of the district. The backgrounds of the representatives for those communities range from, you know, someone like Mary Kay Raymond, who is an IT operations manager, Everett Keogh, who is in similar boat with his background doing IT. We have people with absolutely no experience with IT stuff or broadband. It's a huge range of people. And the great thing about the CUD is that it gives the communities a seat at the table for broadband deployment in the region. I think that's one of the great things. It's like the going to operate kind of like the solid waste district, where the municipalities will have a say in what goes on. So I think it's a great thing. It's not some private company coming in and dictating what's going to be done in your community. We'll actually have a handle on it. The CUD will actually own it and make those decisions, working, you know, with public service district. And bringing broadband to all those areas in the region. So I think it's a great opportunity for the village. The money that, the H316 money that Sean was alluding to, that was that state ARPA money that was dedicated towards broadband. You might have heard, I think, what was it, Sean, 350 million, I think, was the amount that the legislature had set aside as part of that ARPA funding. And for our district applied for pre-construction funding. There's 2 rounds of funding, pre-construction, post-construction. We did the pre-construction funding for, I forgot about 0.6 million, I think we're receiving. And a lot of that's just doing the, just ramping things up to bring broadband to the area, bringing Sean on and doing poll studies and that sort of thing.
Okay. I think initially when this came in, there wasn't enough information on this, but now there's more funding to it. And like Sean Kale was saying, that the handshake with VEPSA, it helps us leverage some other funding to help with some of the projects that we're working on, i.e. our AMI system. So I think it's a...
Yeah, certainly if there are efficiencies with, utility projects, I certainly pay attention to happenings here in Ginsburg, and I know I'm sure you guys are having a similar discussion regarding smart metering. And
yes,
we certainly as we're working together, finding areas where we can collaborate and work efficiently. If there's areas to do so, I'm where to certainly entertain and certainly enjoy those opportunities as they come about. Just like every other municipality, we're operating on a tight budget, and certainly want to make this project happen as efficiently and as quickly as possible.
And right now, the meeting commitment, of course, is always a consideration. The governing board meets once a month. More recently, we've been meeting more frequently, once a week, having special meetings, just because of the level of activity that's been coming down from the state and the funding and bringing an executive director on. We just had to get the ball rolling quickly. But that's going to, I think, taper off over the winter. I think we're going to go back to a monthly meeting schedule starting on Thursday, on the first Thursday of November. And they're hybrid, or right now they're hybrid meetings that we're having, so you can attend virtually. That's more convenient.
where's the headquarters, Sean? Regional planning?
Yeah, that's either regional planning. We usually have one person attend. One of the board members usually stops in. I think she lives in Bakersfield and has poor internet service, so she usually I either meet her at we either have it at the Fairfax Library, which is closer to where I live because nobody ever shows up to the meetings, or we have it at regional planning on Fairfield Street in St. Albans.
Okay.
Okay, so they're looking for us to jump on board. Right? So we need a motion to that effect.
I think so, yeah. Yep.
Well,
I'd like to determine if Elizabeth would be willing to be the village rep.
Elizabeth's still on, isn't she?
Yeah, she will.
Yeah.
Did you see that bus coming?
So,
Elizabeth's a valued member.
Now that we're actually getting to vote.
We can get out.
Yes, I'm happy to be the village representative, with the caveat that you do appoint an
Alternative, yeah.
Appoint if not tonight, then at some point soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
I say we put it out to the community.
Yeah, I
You know?
think their doctrine says they want one of the trustees or one of the select board members.
but what else to the community? The alternatives?
Yeah.
I mean the alternates?
Alternates. I'm just, I mean,
You can vote to join with Elizabeth and then submit an alternate later.
Right. So.
Who's typically the primary and the alternate, Sean?
It's all over the place. If you have a town administrator for a community like Fairfield, Georgia, they're the representative. The alternates are sometimes select board members. Sometimes they're just citizens with no internet service that want to help.
That was generally how it got started. It was a small group of disgruntled, I won't say the company, DSL customers that ultimately had conversations and got this whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, we have one guy for Sheldon. He's the IT person for South Burlington High School. Richford is the select board member. We had their economic development person for a while, and then the select board member was backup. Berkshire's been the school district, so it ranges.
Okay.
Maybe this discussion will raise some interest from someone.
Yep. Okay. So I guess we need a motion.
So we need a motion to join together with the Communication Union District?
Yep. Northwest Communications.
Yeah, Northwest.
You ready for a motion? I'll make a motion that we join the outfit. A group, I don't know what to call it.
Northwest
And
Communication.
Northwest Community Union District, Communication Union District.
Yep.
NWPCUD, or whatever it is.
CUD.
Okay, I've got a motion of sorts.
Second.
And a second? Adam?
Yep.
Chris? Okay, the motion has been made and seconded for the Village of Swanton to join in with the Northwest Vermont Communications Union District for broadband expansion. Any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
There's no opposition, so it's unanimously approved. So I guess we're on board, Sean and Sean, so.
You didn't veto
Okay.
it.
Don't forget to turn me back over as host, Sean.
Yeah, I did. Glad to have you guys. I appreciate
That's
it.
awesome.
And,
Fantastic.
Should you guys seek any information along the way or have questions, feel free to reach out anytime. I'm more than available and can always come in and present to the board should you guys need any public-facing information as well. So just let me know.
we'll keep that in
You will be
mind.
getting the proposed annual budget and annual report via mail this week as well. That we're the CUD is required to do this time of year. by
Okay.
statute, so.
Could we get a small amendment to that motion? Just to appoint Elizabeth, and then we'll pick the alternative when we sign the,
Alternate. Yeah,
okay.
alternative.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion's been amended to have Elizabeth at this point be the point person for
Yes.
the district and upcoming alternates.
Because there's a formal thing to sign.
Yeah.
To be
Okay.
determined.
There is,
Congratulations, Elizabeth. So.
Thank you,
And,
I'll serve proudly.
And Reg, if you could just shoot the resolution to me when it's all signed,
Okay,
that'd be great. Okay,
okay.
okay.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
guys. So, as long as we're under public comment, I had a request from Elizabeth earlier to say something under public comment. So would you like to do that now, Elizabeth?
Please. Thank you. So I just wanted to, it came to my attention that there was some questions or concerns or confusion around the discussion we had at the last meeting regarding transportation alternatives grant program. So it is $375,000, which includes $75,000 for the match. The project, what I maybe didn't state clearly was that this is kind of the first step, because the entire project is close to $1 million, because infrastructure is not cheap. So this is just the first phase of what we're hoping will be one, if not two more phases. And so what we did was pull out those portions of the feasibility study that kind of made sense to do first. So there will be some projects that will hopefully happen later. And none of these projects will, it's not like we're going to do a project and have to redo it. These projects will be done, in particularly the first street, the always stop I know that there was some question about why we didn't do what was part of actually the long-term plan, and that's because we chose the short-term plan, which was the easier three-way stop to more quickly affect change in that area. The other question came about the more sidewalk in front of Merchants Row, and there is some question about ownership. Is my understanding it's not particularly clear who actually owns the sidewalk, but that the business owners have taken to like sweeping it and cleaning it, but that the village has done the infrastructure. So I think, you know, from a community standpoint, it makes sense for the village to take that on, and it will become obviously a public sidewalk at that point. And as I mentioned at the last meeting, that is part of a larger project that we're looking to do to make Merchants Row more accessible. Because as you likely know, the only handicap access is actually in the alleyway, and that is certainly not safe for anybody who has mobility issues who needs to access Merchants Row. So the idea with the sidewalk is to make it more accessible. And the last thing was that, you know, there was a comment that, you know, all we were getting was, you know, work on a private sidewalk and some bump outs. And those bump outs are actually very important for pedestrian safety. So they don't seem like much. The crosswalk going across First Street, where at Canada Street, no, sorry, I was right the first time, it's late. The shortening the crosswalk in front of the Pump and Munch going across to the Village Green, that is way too long. So putting a bump out there and then in front of the library and post office will make a big difference for pedestrian safety. So I don't want anybody to discount those, the importance of those. And again, this is just the first step of hopefully, you know, 2 if not 3. And you know, these things take time to go through design and construction. So yes, we may not see anything for 3 or 4 years, but I think in the end, it will make it safer for pedestrians, make Merchants Row more accessible for people with mobility issues. And I think that is really one of the goals of the project. And if we can make First Street onto Grand Avenue safer for everybody and smooth out traffic, I think we'll be in a good position. So I just wanted to offer some clarifying thoughts to maybe amplify what we talked about a couple of weeks ago.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any questions from here? Gordon? Okay. Okay, hopefully that clarifies it on the other end, Elizabeth, and thank you very much. And if you want to hang in there for the rest of the meeting, you're welcome to, but if not, we understand.
Thank you.
Okay,
Have a good night.
thank you, you too.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda. Approve and accept the minutes from our Wednesday, October 13th, 2021 meeting. What's your pleasure with the minutes?
Move they be approved.
I'll second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve and accept the minutes from our Wednesday, October 13th meeting. Any discussion?
Yes. I think there's an error in the composition of the police interview board. It mentions Gordon Winters as being part of the board in the minutes.
Yeah,
And
I
I
already
don't know if
fixed
that's
it.
already been corrected.
Yep, it has been. It
Okay.
should have said Adam Paxman, not Gordon Winters.
Good. Do you have the composition correct now? Okay.
2 thumbs up.
Yep.
Okay. So, that being said, all those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No opposition, the motion's carried unanimously. Item number 6, approve and accept the village warrants through Thursday, October 21st, 2021. What's your pleasure with the warrants?
I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve and accept the village warrants through Thursday, October 21st. Any discussion, questions on them? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those
Who's-
opposed, that
who
motion's
seconded that,
carried
Neil?
unanimously.
Who seconded it? Adam? Thank you.
Okay, that motion carries. Item number 7, the Swanton Village Police Department update. And I'm assuming that's why David's here.
Yes, sir.
So,
So for the month of September, we handled a total of 136 calls for service in the village. We were having some issues. We had a new computer system online that we were getting from the state, so we had to split up our numbers a little. The system, unfortunately, like a lot of things that happened with the state, had some glitches. So was taken offline, and we went back to our old system for the time being, but that's hopefully going to be straightened out in a few weeks. So again, 136 calls for service for the month. We had a total of 9 written warnings issued with a total of 11 offenses for motor vehicle violations in the village. And we had 2 traffic tickets issued for unregistered motor vehicle and operating after civil suspension. This month of noteworthiness, we had several things happen. On the 23rd, we did Drug Take Back Day. It was one of our highest amounts that we've ever had. We had 5 total boxes of drugs equaling 133 pounds. So that was a significant amount that we got back from the community that we're able to dispose of. And the more of those prescription medications that are out of people's homes, if they don't need them anymore, the less likely to get back on the street. So that was a really good turnout for that. And that was actually done for the first time in several years here at the police department. We used to do it at the pharmacy, but we found that it's a little more accessible for people to stop by the police department and just to be able to talk to the officers when they come in. So we thought it would be a little better location this year. As far as calls, we did have a noteworthy one last week. We actually had a hate-modified assault that occurred on First Street. We had a gentleman have a road rage incident with 2 African-American gentlemen in a moving truck. He ended up assaulting them, and we ended up arresting that individual and charging them, or actually I should say start charging them with hate-modified assault, disorderly conduct, careless and negligent operation. We're lucky that hate crimes aren't a common thing in Swanton, but it does still happen here. So that's one of the more noteworthy things that have happened this month.
And it did start on the interstate, correct?
It did. It was sort of kind of a moving road rage incident that came off the interstate, got to about McDonald's. Unfortunately, there was a young lady who, when this gentleman jumped inside the truck to assault these other 2 gentlemen, these gentlemen lost control of the truck and smashed into her car and caused $9,000 worth of damage. So unfortunately, she was on the receiving end of the road rage. But that gentleman is being charged. So again, that was a random act. It's not something we see common, but I'd just like to bring that to everybody's attention that we do have those type of incidents on occasion. As far as drug activity in the village, it's been an ongoing problem. We are cognizant of it. We have been listening to the people in the village when they've been making these complaints, and we are actively looking into these incidents. I've directed the officers to put some pressure on the locations that we know where the drugs are being sold at. And a couple weeks ago, we actually did a really good car stop. Officer Calb was able to get a search warrant on a car. We got a decent amount of drugs out of it and a lot of drug paraphernalia. So we're definitely trying to put pressure on these people, letting them know we don't want them in the village, and we're trying to push them out as best we can. It's a work in progress, and I know it frustrates a lot of people in the community when they say, well, we've told you that this activity is going on here. Why haven't you gotten rid of it? It's unfortunately a time-intensive and labor-intensive process, but I can assure everybody we are absolutely working hard on getting these individuals out of the community and trying to arrest every chance we get for any type of drug dealing that's going on. Unfortunately, a lot of times our thefts, assaults, car breaks, anything related to that is unfortunately drug-related around here these days, we're finding. So, like I said, we're trying to put pressure on them to move these people out. We also had a meeting recently with State's Attorney Jim Hughes, our Representative Robert Norris, and Brian Savage about some ongoing issues that have been happening. It's in general in the criminal justice system. I think there's a lot of frustration in the community. I know the select board's been frustrated. From what I've heard, everybody on the board of trustees has been frustrated with the perception that justice isn't getting done. We're arresting a lot of people, our arrests are up, but unfortunately the system has been pushing these people back out again. So we had that meeting. It was, I don't know how you, because you were in attendance as well, so.
So one of the issues that I sent a letter to the gentleman that Lieutenant Kashajian's mentioning, and basically was voicing my dissatisfaction as how the perception within the community is on our police force, and I don't like it, and it's not their fault, and I needed that open communications between the SA, State's Attorney, and our representatives in Montpelier. So we had, I thought, a fairly decent conversation with them. I think they heard us. We have some homework to do to continue those lines of communication with them, I think. Will we see immediate satisfaction? No, but quite honestly, I'm pissed off with the way the community speaks poorly of our police force, and I highly respect our police department and our officers. So I reached my fund meter was pegged, and I took action. So we had them come in, we had the conversation, and we'll see where it goes from there. So,
All right. Thank you for the support. All the officers here really do appreciate the support from you.
you're welcome. So I don't usually get haired out, but I am.
That was going to be my comment. I have your letter right here. I thought it was well written on the 14th of October, discussing that very reason, that we're doing the work, but you're throwing the work out with not letting it be finalized.
I can assure everybody our officers are really working hard, and we're trying to clear out as many cases. It's just even the officers are frustrated, but it's not letting them get disheartened. They're still trying as hard as they can. They're trying to solve these crimes as quick as possible. That discussion we had about the misinformation regarding the robbery at the church recently, we actually ended up, the officers investigating that, cleared that call in an hour and solved it and charged that individual. And unfortunately, lack of a better phrase, this gentleman who perpetrated that larceny from that person at the church was one of our frequent flyers. And we've charged him, last month I think I charged him with 3 different felonies. He was just charged with more crimes, but unfortunately the system is, it just does not seem to be working as hard as the police department is. And it's not just us, it's agencies all over the state of Vermont. There's just a lot of frustration in the criminal justice system right now. But
the social media did not portray it accurately, though.
Did not do its service.
That hampers our...
And it could have resulted in not being able to solve that crime as well.
That's absolutely true.
Think
Although
about it.
we appreciate the community using social media. Sometimes we get information from that. We can develop suspects, but sometimes, like you said, it hampers our ability, and they'll give out information that we didn't want to necessarily give out, and that could cause people, if they stole items, to get rid of them quicker. If they're stolen guns, get alibis, you name it, they could do it. Sometimes if information is released too early, there's a method to our madness as to why we do things. Again, we love the community support, and if they have information from us, because our police department is only as good as the community that supports us and the information they give us, but we'd rather work with them than against them, and sometimes, like you said, the social media is working against us these days.
Agreed.
I personally have written a couple letters to Senator Leahy. With one of the ideas is, how come the judicial system isn't keeping up with what's being presented? And I got the strangest phone call back from somebody who must have been in his office because they knew about the letters. And they basically told me to stop writing the letters. So I'm telling you, voters out there, look bell to your ballot.
Yeah.
Your vote speaks volumes these days in this country.
Yeah.
Locally, nationally, statewide, it's definitely true. Yeah. Hopefully things turn around. It's all I can do is hope, I guess. And the last thing I just wanted to note too is we are in the process. We've had some retirements from the department for part-time officers. we're lucky, we actually still have applications coming in, and the current chief's process, we've had to sort of put it on the back burner as far as doing the hiring process and looking at new candidates, but within the next week or so, I'm going to have a couple gentlemen come in to interview for part-time jobs, because right now we pretty much have 6 open part-time positions, and with Sergeant Para leaving probably at the first of the year, we're going to have to try to reconstitute a lot of the positions at the police department. And I actually had a young lady who wants to apply to the police department too. She's a criminal justice student. She's actually doing ride-along with us tonight, and she's very interested in coming to work here part-time. So hopefully these 3 new candidates will work out for us. And my hope is to get them in the part-time academy in March of 2022. Unfortunately, the training council is backlogged right now at trying to get officers trained, and there's a huge gap in how many officers are out on the road right now and how many we can get through the academy. So that's my hope, is to get these 3 individuals vetted, and hopefully we can get them through the academy and on the street so we can supplement our gap in coverage right now that we have. I mean, we're covering what we need to in both the town and the village. That's not an issue, but like I said, we had several part-time officers retire, or one of them moved out of state, so he just gave up doing it. So we pretty much have 6 open part-time positions right now that we could fill. I don't think we need to do that because I don't want to overstaff us, but I think we'd be comfortable with adding the 3 officers, younger officers too, who are going to be ambitious and want to get out there and do work in the community. So hopefully that will work out as well. So I just wanted to update you all on that situation.
Do we have a resource officer in the elementary schools yet?
We don't. We have, right now, Chief Stell actually received a grant from
Franklin County Caring Communities.
Yep, that's the one. Thank you. I had a little bit of a senior moment there. And that was for a part-time drug and alcohol officer in the school. So right now, Officer Dean Scott is our full-time school resource officer. And our recently retired Officer Clary has come back working part-time twice a week. We don't have anybody specifically assigned to the elementary school, but if there are issues there, we have told them that we will offer up either of those officers to assist in anything, plus our regular patrol officers to deal with it. We have approached the elementary school and the school district about adding a school resource officer. From what I was told by Chief Stell, it doesn't look like that may be in the budget in the near future, but we have offered that to them, so we'd be more than willing. We would love to get somebody in the school, even to share it in the school district between Swanton, I believe Franklin and Highgate, just have the officer rotate through. But like I said, I think at this point it's not in the budget in the near future, but we're ready to go if they do want to move forward with that. And a matter of fact, we still have last year or the year before, I received a federal COPS grant that allowed us to get 3 full-time officer positions, one that the village added, one that helped pay for the school resource officer going forward at the school, so that helped to lower that for the taxpayers. It pays 40% of the salary, and the other 60% is paid by the school district. And we actually still have 1 open full-time job left that would cover 40% of the salary. So we do have options. If we wanted to add the school resource officer, that's the option. We've spoken with the town too about adding an additional officer to that contract. I'm not sure where they stand with that, so we definitely have options if we needed to add a full-time officer.
Super, thank you.
Well,
Any other questions?
Good.
Okay, thank you very much.
thank you much.
Item number 8 on the agenda this evening, discuss CDBG program guidelines and application process. So,
Okay, I believe that's you, Lynn.
William, okay.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
that's
So Diane should have given you guys the handouts that I had.
yeah.
This is for the CBDG loan fund. And in talking with the state, we didn't have, I couldn't find at least, a loan application or revolving loan fund guidelines. So that's what these 2 documents are. And if you look at the application first, I went through several towns online and found, kind of picked what I liked out of each different town that I found that had CDBG funds. So basically, the loan applications, like what they would get if they went to a bank, it just asks questions about, their name, the type of business, describing the business, the amount of money that they're looking for, and then other stuff that we're looking at. Plus, I asked for asset and liabilities, bank account information, right down through, and some information about, business owners, so that the committee that will be reviewing these kind of gets a good idea of what the business is, who they are, just like they would if they were going to a bank. These CDBG funds are kind of like the lender of last resort, I guess, for lack of a better word. This is if the business goes to the bank, and they need a loan for $25,000, and the bank says, I'll loan you 20. Then they come to us and say, I need a loan for 5. We're kind of like that bridge, is how these funds are kind of used. Does anybody have questions on the application or want anything changed?
Not me.
Nope, but who's the sole decider if the loan shall be approved? You or the village manager or the board?
Well, there's gotta be a committee for it.
I don't
Originally,
see-
I was thinking the committee should
This
really
Peter
be like the trustees, but in talking with the state, they're saying, the committee really should have somebody from a bank, maybe a trustee, I'm still in process with, if we go, I've got it in the guidelines, the committee structure. I'm not quite sure. I guess I'm looking to you guys for some guidance on how you want the committee formed.
Do we need a
It would
committee?
be so the committee would actually make a recommendation to the board of trustees. And the trustees, I believe, is who makes the final, the board of trustees has the authority to approve or disapprove. So you guys have the final say. But that's after somebody's already vetted the application.
I personally don't see a need for a committee. I would think you and Reg could present it to the board.
I agree.
I don't think we need another level there.
I don't think so either, Lynn, and I guess my reasoning is we're not talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. We've got I don't wanna say a fixed amount, but, we don't have $1 million sitting in a pot that we can, loan out. So
Right.
I would probably, maybe reword it such that, maybe in the future there's a committee, but I would think at this point, the village manager and the assistant village manager would be fine.
I think also that would be sufficient at this point, because you're talking about maybe
Okay.
50,000. Am I right?
How much?
Yeah, we're gonna have, right now, we've got more money in the account, but I've gotta send some of that back to the state for the recapture.
Yeah,
So yeah, I would say we've got probably lendable about 60,000, 70 at the most in the bank.
yeah. So it's not a huge amount of money. And we will have adequate control, I think.
Right.
So if you guys flip over to the other handout, which has the revolving funds guidelines, and this kind of gives you a summary, what the purpose is, what the objectives are, and it's for economic development, job creation, and job retention, assisting development of low to moderate income housing, make updates to our water, sewer, and sidewalk systems, and to make financing available with favorable rates and flexible terms to maximize success. The next is the loan committee structure, so I will change that to be the village manager and the assistant village manager. And then the authority, basically, it says that you guys have the final say. Then who's eligible would be a for-profit or non-for-profit business. existing, locating, or expanding in the village, that we can as ourselves borrow money for the water, sewer, or sidewalk. And no business shall be eligible if there are delinquent taxes or utility accounts payable to the village of Swanton.
Perfect.
I took that from one of the other towns that I saw, I'm like, well, that's a nice little clause.
Perfect.
So can I go back just for a minute? I'd like to, if we could, have one extra person on the committee because it'd be a tiebreaker. You have 3 people.
Okay.
So I just don't know who that third person would be, but, or
Do
Gordon.
you want it to be one member of the board of trustees, or do you want somebody?
Couldn't the board
Independent of
itself
the
be the
board?
third person?
I mean, if it was a trustee, wouldn't there be a conflict?
Yeah, if they gotta approve it.
Yeah.
You want a community member?
Right, true. Yeah, we could have a community member.
You see that bus coming?
Is that why you came? You were looking
That's
for,
why I came, you had to apply for the job.
you were looking for a job?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, we'll do,
I was just gonna ask, but who, is this the loan program through the electric department, Ben Doyle?
no, this is CBDG, this is,
With CVG?
Community
From the,
block
the
community
old high
block.
school.
development grant.
Isn't
So-
this from the old high school building?
Is that from the old high school, Lynn?
This was originally, funds from the old high school
Yeah.
that, Housing Vermont was paying back, and then they paid off their loan this year. They still have a balloon payment of an amount that is due to us down the road in like 2032. And then Blake Commons also ran through this project. We actually revolved some money to Blake Commons, and their loan is, they still have, some loans out there, but, this was the project that we ran. It's a state grant / loan that these nonprofits use for low to moderate income housing that had to run through a municipality. That's how it started.
Yeah.
But a business to do a fit up or a facade or something, that's what would be applying for,
Potentially, right?
Yeah.
could you hear
Yeah,
that
so it would
one?
be like if a business wanted to start up, or wanted to do, some upgrades or whatever, they can run through us, along with running through a bank. The theory is this is supposed to be competitive, if not a little bit better competitive than a bank loan would be, but just not the big dollars. We don't have,
Right.
huge amounts in that fund. So this is, if somebody wants 5,000 or so, it's not like for somebody that wants 50,000.
So it's a supplement to the,
Do I
It's like
understand?
Yeah, kind of the book.
It's like Aflac.
yeah, even that, but never mind.
Do I understand this right, Lynn? What you're saying is somebody comes up with a good idea, they present it to you and to Reg. You look at it, and it's no good, you just can it. But if it looks like it's, fits all the criteria and gonna work, then you two would bring it to the board at a board meeting and we would approve or deny it. So that would be your third person. I'm just thinking.
And it would need to be done in executive session because you're gonna have somebody's
Somebody's name on
personal
it.
financial information. So it's all confidential.
Yeah, I guess it would be.
But I think, you and Reg, if you needed a third person or another opinion on an idea, you could bring an individual citizen in to advise you or to give you insight without having them have to have the pressure of being a voter, voting on it.
Yeah, I don't have a problem having a third person on it at all.
If
I
I
just
may,
was,
I'm just trying to keep things simple, get complication, keep the layers of authority down to a minimum.
if I may, I don't generally volunteer for things, but if some of this is planning to run through businesses,
That'd be fine.
I'm happy to be that third person.
You know, that's a good person, because you are the
Economic development.
economic development coordinator. That's a perfect person.
Yeah,
That's
that would work,
it.
that would work for me. Like I said, I just want to keep the meetings to a min and keep the
Because there
things
is,
flowing quickly.
is there a conflict there though? Because you would possibly be involved with bringing somebody before us.
I don't think it'd be a conflict, because we're supposed to be marketing this program.
Okay,
What I
that's
told the
fine.
state is, we've got an economic development coordinator that knows about it and is
Yeah,
potential, is putting it out there for people. So I think that's fine.
okay,
So I had
good.
actually thought of Elizabeth, fill that position.
Very good.
Okay.
Or shall we?
So
Shall we?
if we go on to page 2, it talks about, what the loans can be used for. So business acquisition, to keep the business from closing, or loss of employment, construction, enlargement, repairs, purchase and development of land, easements, rights of way, equipment purchases, startup costs. The loans can't be used as a line of credit to refinance existing debt or any illegal activity. And then it goes down to the loan application process. Well, applicants required to complete the application and to pay the fee. I was seeing anywhere from $50 to $100 for an application fee. Or we can do nothing
Oh, there should be
on
some
that
fee.
one.
There had to be some fee or you'd be doing you'd be getting 100 of them.
Right, I mean, it's just like how we do like an engineering fee for our electric department, So I was kind of thinking $100 for that.
It's reasonable.
I wouldn't know.
Uh,
I'm open to anything. I don't know what the fee would be.
See, I didn't either, so that's why we brought it to you guys. So we were tossing it around, and yeah, we gotta bring it.
If it's a huge project of $1 million, a fee of $1,000 wouldn't bother anybody.
Right.
But if it's a small one, $100 might bother somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then it talks about how either P.E.G or whoever he decides will review the application packet for completeness prior to taking it to the review committee. And that's just basically looking, do they have everything here that's asked for in the application?
Yeah.
He won't do like a pre-review or anything. And then talks about how all the discussions are confidential, and the applicant will be notified in writing of the decision. Down with the terms and conditions, the max loan will be, and this is a dollar amount. I've seen it where they've done, it'll be no more than X% of the balance in the loan fund, or it can be a flat dollar amount. I prefer to go with a flat dollar amount versus a percentage. Because if you do a percentage, it's a matter of who first in the pecking order that gets the most money.
Any
And then the
thoughts?
loan term of,
Any thoughts on an
Adam?
amount?
I was thinking 5,000. Just because you go much more than that and you're not gonna have funds. I mean, what if we all of a sudden have 10 people come to us with viable plans?
Right.
If we do much more than that, it's not gonna spread very far.
Yep.
We can always, if we get into this and a year down the road, we feel it's not working, we can always amend this plan.
Oh, of course.
Yep.
Of course.
No, good thinking.
And I was also thinking of a term of up to 5 years.
I was thinking 10, $500 a year.
Okay,
That
yeah,
okay?
10's fine.
But that would be up to the Board of Trustees, correct? Based on, the application review? Or would that just be automatically set?
I believe the applicant will ask for, it says proposed length of loan. So they will ask for the length,
Okay,
but it just can't go over the amount of years that we say.
gotcha, okay.
Say
Good
$5,000,
enough.
$42 a month,
Yeah.
without interest.
Good enough. What's that?
I said if you did a maximum of
And then,
$5,000, and it's, you do 10 years, it's $42 a month, roughly.
Depends how much you borrow. You borrow 5,000 or
pretty
500
cheap.
a year. But why would somebody borrow $100?
Stranger things.
It's gotta be reasonable.
Right.
You guys, you know, if they come in for $1,000, they want 10 years, you guys could say $1,000 over 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, you guys have the final say.
We'll decide.
Right.
It does say up to.
Yes, okay.
Right. And then the interest rate, it's a lot of times set on, based on prime. So, it would be a fixed interest rate, and then based on, you know, a certain percentage over, whatever Wall Street Journal prime is. So if we did like a lot of them I saw were like 1% over prime.
And what's prime at right now? Just
I don't know, actually. It's
Three
still
point-
pretty low.
3.25, I think.
Currently.
Okay. So they'd be looking, if you did 1%, it'd be 4.25. You
Yep.
can't go get a business loan for that, or barely can get a business loan for that.
I don't know. Wouldn't know.
Yeah, 3.25.
And then if we want any closing fees. Now, they would have to they are responsible for paying, any closing, like attorney fees or whatever on this loan.
would we require an attorney?
Yeah, because we're gonna have an attorney draft up the, loan agreement.
And that will be on our dime, correct? Or will that be built into the
I
loan?
believe I put in here that they have to reimburse us for that.
I know, and I couldn't put my finger on it, that's why. Oh, there it is, I see it.
You see it?
Yep,
Yeah, me too.
yep.
Sorry. My second, third time through it.
So,
Okay, so
I think it looks good, Lynn.
All right, let me see if I have, so we can also have, I have a separate section in there for when the village borrows money from itself.
Yep,
That term has to be 5 years or less. I will do the same interest rate, but the max loan, you guys want, like right now, we currently have a $25,000 loan out there with the water department. I will say, if we do any sort of water, sewer, sidewalk project, $5,000 is not high enough.
No.
Because the water line we did last year was just over 25,000.
right. So maybe we don't have a limit? I mean, if it's
That's up to you guys.
if it's important,
Could we state it that it'd be not more than 50% of the available funds?
there you go.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sound reasonable?
That way,
Yep.
it's pretty flexible.
yep. And it still opens up for others to have the opportunity to borrow.
That's right.
Yep,
Right.
good idea.
And the last piece that talks about is if somebody goes delinquent. And people go delinquent on these things, I've seen it happen. So I want to say a loan would be considered delinquent and collection efforts started. And for any, like, they're going to be due, I would say, on a monthly basis. So if anything's like 45 days or older, which kind of falls in the same realm as with our electric, water, and sewer delinquents. I know the lady I talked to from the state was a little concerned about who's gonna service the loan and what he's gonna do if somebody doesn't pay. And I said, we deal with people not paying their utility bills every day.
Right.
So, you know, we're kind of used to that. So, then it talks about foreclosure proceedings and everything. But I will, I'll make these changes and I'll bring you back a final draft for the next meeting. So we can get it adopted and everything.
Sounds good.
Sounds good, good work.
Yeah.
I have one further question. Under delinquent accounts,
Sure. Yep.
the third bullet, sale of mortgage property in the Board of Trustees. I don't understand what you're saying.
Well, probably if.
Typo.
So if they sell the property that's mortgaged, because we'll have a mortgage on the property, if you don't approve the loan assumption. So if somebody sells their property that is still owing like $2,000 to us, and we don't approve the purchaser to take over that loan, we can foreclose if the loan's not paid off at closing.
I think it's just, you have in instead of if.
If.
Okay,
That's what it is.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it should be if.
okay,
Oh,
yeah,
makes sense now. Sorry.
okay.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I had to
so
read it
then
3
it's
times, so
not
don't
a-
feel bad.
Yeah,
I kept
was
reading
trying
over
to
it.
understand what it was saying. All right, now it makes a lot more sense. Thank you.
Okay, so you're gonna rewrite this, Lynn, and bring it back to the next meeting?
Yeah, yep, I'll bring you guys back the final draft at the next meeting.
Okay,
Thank you.
Good
I'm gonna
enough.
keep this one.
thank you very much.
That's a keeper.
Yep. Okay,
Okay, so I guess that's
Further
it for
review.
that subject?
yep.
You don't need- Next item on the agenda, discussion of Swanton Town Lake Champlain Basin Grant. I think they're looking for a letter of support for
Yeah.
the project, Reg?
I had talked to David Juskavich today and had a conversation with him about this. And the committee down, the residents down along McQuam Shore that are having the issue are doing a lot of the footwork for this grant. And basically, they were just looking for a letter of support. So I drafted this letter up, and if you folks are good, I'll send it to, I think, Al Norman. Roger, is that who gets this letter? Still on, Raj?
He's on.
You're muted if you want to talk.
He's there.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll read the letter. It says, "The Village of Swanton Board of Trustees would like to submit this letter of support to the town of Swanton Select Board in support of their application to the McQuam Bay Ecosystem Aquatic Littoral Species Control Management Plan. The Village of Swanton manages the Swanton Beach, which is located on McQuam Shore Road. This beach offers a boat ramp, picnic space with a pavilion, restrooms, and grassy space for relaxing with families while enjoying the views of Lake Champlain. Over the years, this area of McQuam Shore has been an area of concern to the residents due to the smell caused by invasive and nuisance vegetation decaying in the summer months due to the low lake levels, sediment disposition, and nutrient inputs from in lake and watershed sources. Lake Champlain is a valuable resource for Swanton and the families who live here. We encourage and applaud the efforts of the town select board and residents for their efforts in submitting this application. Sincerely, Village Board of Trustees, Neil Spear, President, Chris Leach, Trustee, Eugene LeBombard, Trustee, Adam Paxman, Trustee. So if you folks are in favor of that,
Absolutely.
we have a motion, or make a motion.
I'll move that we approve and sign the letter of support to the town of Swanton for the McQuam Bay Ecosystem Aquatic Littoral Species Control Management Plan.
And I would second it. I actually went to that basin meeting that was here, and it was a little bit disappointing. They did a really good presentation, but they talk only about water quality. And I said, the problem with the, milfoil and all of the other pieces that are in there, that's part of the action. And she kind of said, it's not water quality. It's another issue, and that, I felt that was wrong. Her answer was basically, we don't know what to do about it, so we're just gonna work on the water quality. but the quality of the water, and the quality of the usage, and the quality of the environment around the lake is affected greatly by the vegetation. And it should be part of their
Yeah. So,
purpose.
so I mean, this study, Roger, I see you're
Well,
on
There
now.
was people there that were very aware of this.
I finally figured out how to unmute myself.
Okay. So you heard the letter of support.
Yes,
You heard-
actually, you asked where it should be sent to, maybe tomorrow morning, or actually before when we end this meeting, I'll send you a quick email with the name and address of the person that it should go to.
Okay. Now did you hear, Roger, did you hear Chris Leach's concern?
I did, and I must admit I shared the same concern. Yes, although I sense that the September meeting where we first met at the beach, and then with the select board, the two people that Al Norman has been told to get in touch with about the basin program grant, and then also the state grant for which the application is due in February. They speak more positively about what these studies can do, and in fact, they'd be looking very closely at the vegetation. I know the other person at that September meeting was far more or far less committal about the vegetation, and was just sort of let all of that go. So we do the people that actually manage these grants have been all encouraging and say that we have good reason to pursue the grants.
Oh, that's good.
Okay. Well, hopefully something transpires from this grant application and move something forward.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right. So,
What this one will specifically do is study what the different types of growth are in the area and map all of that out so that we have a more reasoned and intelligent view as to what could be done concerning the different types of plant growth, whatever.
Okay.
okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to go ahead with the letter of support for the town select board in their application for help on the McQuam Shore problem. Any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No opposition, the motion is carried unanimously, and like Roger said, you'll get an address and send that letter to the right people, and hopefully this will move along, so.
The town will get a copy of this too, Roger.
Yeah.
Yes, very good.
So,
Thank you for your support, gentlemen.
You're welcome.
okay, thank you, Roger, and we'll all hope for the best for this situation, so.
Agreed.
Okay, next item, discussion approval applying for the National Opioid Settlement Benefits.
Yeah, so National Opioid Settlement, basically, I guess a lot of municipalities received this letter, just basically stating that to local political subdivisions, important information about the National Opioid Settlement. Subdivisions must submit signed documentation to participate. The deadline for participation to maximize settlement benefits is January 2nd, 2022. So it just goes on to say, how much money is out there, and if you want your fair share, basically, you just have to write a letter stating that you want to participate in this settlement.
What kind of money are you talking about?
They got,
I
let's
see
see,
that, but how much money for us?
no
I mean,
clue.
if it's $100,
Wow,
why do
it's
it?
almost like the settlement they had for Valleys there. I think we got $2 in the mail.
That wasn't very nice, was it?
No.
I got 17.
You got 17?
Yeah, didn't even fill my truck.
No, that's true. Wouldn't today either.
So I don't know, but a lot of people were saying, hey, you guys are gonna apply for this, you're gonna apply for this? So let me look at it, says, sure, we'll apply for it.
Yeah,
Yep. Might as well.
mine just as well.
Yeah.
We need a motion, make it
Yeah,
official.
yeah.
So moved.
Motion
Second.
been,
Oh,
I'll second it.
motion been made and seconded to,
Keep that too. guess.
go ahead with applying for the national
Just in
opioid
case.
settlement benefits.
Yep.
No discussion, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No opposition, the motion is carried unanimously.
Now, Diane, just for my edification too, and anybody who wants to complain about how we do our business, all of these documents that are displayed but not completely read during our meetings are,
In the minutes, they're recorded in the minutes books.
okay.
And we keep every single,
and the-
anything we discuss tonight or any meeting, we keep.
Is it on
review.
our website too, or no?
No, the documents aren't, the minutes are.
Okay,
But all these documents are in our book for public review, if they want to come see them.
okay, thank you.
And they're kept in the safe for
Yeah.
many, many, many years. As long as we've been putting them in the
Which
safe,
are then
they're
turned
still there.
into hard copy books.
I don't know, I've been
So-
privileged to see some of these things, and believe me, they're all there.
Yeah.
So that way, if we
you
ever
wanna
want to
look for
refer back to
it may be
something,
a
we
little
have it.
difficult. but-
Yep.
But I have in the back of my mind, it makes me think of something. I thought that at some time we ought to consider putting these things electronically and have, it's gonna cost a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
but you have a lot of very precious documents in there.
Mm-hmm.
When's the oldest?
1888.
88?
Yeah.
That's the formation of the village itself.
It was a very small book.
Well, yeah, I mean, the board approved, or the public approved, the voters approved giving us $3,000 a year in the general fund 5 or 6 years ago to spend that on preserving all those old minutes. So
Yeah,
over the years, I mean, we're down to, I think everything's preserved from the 1800s, early 1900s, all the way up.
you have, that's very good.
They're not electronic, but
Yeah, I
at
know.
least they're preserved.
But
But-
it is a dream.
Yeah, but at least this way, I mean, if the public wants to handle it, they're not they're not delicate.
Oh, they were so fragile, the paper was.
Oh, can you
yeah,
imagine?
Yeah,
I can. Yeah.
Okay.
so.
Wonderful thing, actually. If we ever put it on, if we scanned it all in, we'd find
Yeah,
something just
necessary.
like that.
Any other necessary business? Anybody have any necessary business?
It's gotta be
Nope.
necessary.
Just slow down.
Slow down.
I want to keep saying it. I don't want to have to build a wall.
I had just one thing. So, 2 weeks ago Friday, we had a meeting with V-Trans and our bridge consultant about the bridge. And I have some minutes here of that meeting. And basically, the state was stating that the structure was originally programmed to undergo major rehabilitation in 2029. But V-Trans had accelerated the timeline and moved it up to, and now we are on the project list for delivery within the next 3 to 5 years. So, and it will be a major rehab of the bridge.
Rehab as in,
Deck, just, well, major rehab, whatever that's gonna entail.
Everything but the abutments.
everything but the pillars and.
Pillars and abutments, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't go into specifics, but major rehab. And $6 to $8 million, I think a number was thrown out. But then there would be a temporary bridge having to be constructed. So the good news is the structures grant that we received last year, or this year for $175,000, it was because of the timeline of the major rehab, The engineer's gonna fit what needs to get done within that 175, so we don't have to bond for the 550,000 to do all that work.
All right.
Perfect.
So it's
That's
gonna
good.
fit it within that,
That's awesome.
yeah,
Nice job.
that grant, so,
Good deal.
yeah. So I thought that was worth mentioning.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Good job.
Good guys finally win one.
That's good. That's all I got.
Okay, so no other necessary business. I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to go into executive session to discuss personnel. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, we are in executive session. Well, we've come back from executive session, discussion on personnel, no decisions made, and at this point, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting of the Swanton Village Board of Trustees.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adjourn this meeting of the Swan Village Board of Trustees for October 25th, 2021. Those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous. Thank you everyone for your attention this evening, and have a good evening.